Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver. In the last part, we started our way east of Fuchsia after checking out more with the Safari Zone in Pal Park, and now it's time for us to conclude our journey along the long mist of routes that is what's east of Fuchsia. And we got two new Pokemon right off the bat even. Starting off, we got Squirtle, the original Gen 1 water starter, pure water type at that. Meaning that is weak against electric and grass. Squirtle, as it brought up with Wartortle and Blastoise, is definitively the defensive member of the original Kanto trio. And it gets real good as it evolves because of that. I just prefer the attack-based one. Speaking of which, time for Charmander. Charmander, pure fire type, so it is weak against rock, ground, and water. Good special attack, good speed, good attack. It's the attacker, more or less. Like I said, with Charizard, and I think even Charmeleon already. But something I forgot to mention, I forget when they get a minor buff in some regard, because I think one of them does at some point, but one of the most obvious occasions of, oh, hello there. Been a bit. Don't come back, oh. Again, you've seen. Kyle, not again. I'll be there first next time. Having followed it here, I'm starting to understand what Suicune's after. To be honest, I would like to keep this information to myself, but I want to be an honest trainer in front of Suicune. That's why I'm sharing a clue with you. It seems that Suicune prefers a hilly place near water. Somewhere north. I don't know exactly where yet. It'll be just you and me. Who will find it first? I challenge you. Well, near water to the north, huh? Well, if you're at all familiar with Kanto, that's a pretty obvious place. Now, as I was saying, something that I didn't comment before about the Charmander line and Typhlosion line, their endgame stats are literally identical. Which is a case for Gen 2 originally was going to be the final game of the series before money got in the way. And in a lot of ways you can tell with the original Gold and Silver especially, and to an extent Crystal as well, there was an element of that game being rushed because they had so much more they could do at the last second, because Kanto really was almost a last second inclusion in a lot of ways, as originally the game was too big for Game Boy cartridges, and Iwata came up with a giant compression formula of some sort that really made the game work better. But since they had so much extra room, they decided to just throw a whole bunch in there, and whether or not it worked depends on who you talk to. I think the ideas are cool. In fact, there's a really good ROM hack out there for SoulSilver. It's like Soul Stream or something like that, that adds story and linearity to Kanto and more Team Rocket stuff throughout the game. But for the main releases, there's a lot of content here, but whether or not that content's worth doing is really depending on who you are. In a lot of ways, to me, Kanto and Heart Gold SoulSilver especially is a land of missed opportunities, because while, like, character designs are updated, like we'll see with Misty down the line, she looks a little different, Brock's looking a little different, everyone's looking a little new and fresh, and their teams have changed a little bit. Nothing about Kanto really feels that different, barring the addition of, like, the Magnet Train line in Saffron City, Janine being the gym leader in Fuchsia, and what's going on with Lavender Town. Everything else feels very stagnant and similar to how it was in the original game, in a way that's not really appealing. With that said, time for another new Pokemon. This particular picnicker's throwing out Whismur, a Gen 3 normal type. Soundproof for its ability, which is a very interesting one because that means any sound-based moves like Screech or otherwise just do not work on this Pokemon. Weak to fighting, immune to Ghost, Whismer's got an okay enough HP stat and somewhat some okay attack stats, but it really takes until that line's third phase to be any kind of worthwhile in terms of just pure stats. Learn set wise as well, it's a little weird. From memory, I think at some point that line can learn all three of the Fang type moves, which are like the physical versions for a lot of special moves otherwise, like Fire Fang or Fang, I think Ice Fang's in there as well. But there's better normal types to use, honestly. Speaking of better Pokemon, though, this is Buizel, a Gen 4 pure water type, weak to grass and electric, extraordinarily fast for a first stage Pokemon. And decent attack stats on top of that. When it eventually evolves, you get a really good fast physical attacker that's worth having around, honestly. This is, I'd say, the go-to water type for a lot of Gen 4 teams just playing through Sinnoh, unless you're for some reason using the Bidoof line for that, because I believe Bibarel's normal water. But there's usually better choices than Bibarel, for instance. Can't go wrong with the Buizel, is the point there. If there's anything I can say that I do at least appreciate about Kanto, it's that the trainer types aren't all in the exact same place. There are a few that are there because iconics or because of the region you're in. Like, of course, the mountainous areas are probably going to have more hikers. And the bikers, I think, are all in the exact same places as they used to be. But I remember specifically this route was a lot more bird keeper based back when. With that said, time for a new Pokemon. This Pokemon fan has Slowking. This evolves from Slowpoke when traded while holding the item King's Rock. More or less, it's the alternate evolution to Slowbro. As a kid, I used to think it evolved from Slowbro. Water Psychic type, so it is weak against Bug, Ghost, Grass, Electric, and Dark. Slowking's got some really good special stats, good special defense, and HP on top of that. The biggest problem with Slowking is that it's a Slowpoke evolution, so its speed is straight garbage. It does at least have a good enough physical defense stat as well that it can probably take a lot of moves overall and then get a really good special hit in. And it has a really good learn set from memory for its special moves. But it's not my cup of tea overall. Overall, if I'm going for something that's slow, I'm going for something that'll hit super hard, like an Ursaring kind of stuff. Mind you, this is also partially why I don't play competitive. Because Unga Bunga hit hard doesn't work nearly as well there because people will outthink you. Because people can swap and use abilities well. The AI tends not to be able to. Although not to the series' credit, sometimes they've gotten better about that in recent years. Like, genuinely, the Generation 8 champion fight is one of the smartest AIs, it feels like, in the series when it comes to taking advantage of what it has. But then the rest of it's kind of Oh, also, I probably should directly address this now that I think about it. This is the first video I'm recording since another new trailer for Scarlet and Violet dropped, where we got the team design, Team Star, and I love them. Although I like them in fan art more than the actual in-game models, but that's because there's some weird stuff on some of them. And we also got, I don't remember the name of the crab Pokemon, but we got Cerulege and the other one, which, of course, everyone I know immediately went, hey, Mega Man Battle Network lookalikes. And I was like, yes, Cerulege has my entire heart, and as a Scarlet player, I'm gonna need to have a friend trade that to me. It's not often I actively work on a game in a franchise while the new one is literally on the way and we know what's happening with it. Usually, like, something may get announced here and there, but we barely know anything about it at that point. Usually what's coming out for a series I'm working on is a spin-off of some sort. Time for another new Pokemon, though. This is Spoink. Spoink has my entire heart because they're adorable. Generation 3 pure psychic type, so it's weak to Bug, Ghost, and Dark. Spoink's got some high special defense and okay special attack, but that's really about it. But when it eventually evolves, you get a really good special Pokemon with some decent speed and HP to back it up. It's not too good with its physical stats, but you could do a lot worse for a psychic type in Gen 3, or in Hoenn at least. You could do a little better? A little bit, yeah. Oh, I should also probably go over the Pokemon that have been on these routes we've been going through, huh? But first, let's talk about what this guy has. He's got another new Gen 3 Pokemon. This is Tailo, the Pidgey for Gen 3. Normal flying type, so it is weak against Rock, Electric, and Ice. Immune to Ground and Ghost, though. Tailo has an okay enough physical attack stat, but for a Phase 1 Pokemon, it's got some really good speed. And when you eventually evolve it, that speed and special and physical attack focus just gets boosted even more, and I think down the line around Gen 6 or 7, it gets a good boost to its special attack as well. Out of all of the normal flyings, it's probably the first one I really like to use on a team here and there. The overall first one I love to use, though, is probably just Staraptor. It's a vanilla choice, but Staraptor's real good. Okay, so let's see. Route 13, which we are currently on, if you want to catch anything in that grass to my west, you can mainly find Chanseys. Again, you can really find those around here, period. Some Hoppips and Quagsires. The biggest thing of notes is that you can catch Bidoofs and Wheezmers around here, as well as Buizel's, once you're able to catch Hoenn and Sinnoh Pokemon. Which technically you can at this point if you do the Safari Zone stuff completely properly, but I'm not doing that. I do believe I show all 3 times that Balba calls us, though, to tell us we got new blocks added to the Safari Zone, even though I don't actively use them at all. Because we got enough time to focus on the rest of this game's side content down the line. In fact, I'm probably going to have entire videos just dedicated to 1 or 2 specific things. Now, this route in particular, the giant waterlogged one, there's not many super interesting Pokemon you can catch on this one besides maybe some Quillfishes. But if you remember those swarms I brought up towards the end of Johto, there is a swarm that occasionally happens here for Relicanth, and I think that's the only place you can find them in this particular game. And I should note, you really can catch a lot of Pokemon just with either Heart Gold or Soul Silver. I actively had to look around to see if I could find some actual notes about this. But if memory serves from what I found, you can find about 440 to 450 of the Gen 1 through 4 Pokemon in just either Heart Gold or Soul Silver. The others, I believe, are exclusive mostly to either events or Gen 3 and 4. Like, I think you can't get the Regis in here naturally at all. You can't get some of the Pokemon out of Sinnoh at all, like Cresselia and Darkrai, barring maybe some events here and there. You can get a large amount in this one game, and I do appreciate that. I really feel, at least from like a pacing angle, Pokedexes feel their best when you only have to catch around 400 to 600 to complete it. And I genuinely, like, Dexit's a whole other problem I'm not going to really get into, but I did find catching the 600 that was just in base Galar a lot more approachable than doing anything in Gen 7 with that. With that, time for another new Pokemon. This is Sunflora. Pure grass type, evolves from Sunkern when you use a Sunstone on it. And as bad as Sunkern is, Sunflora's not too bad stats-wise. Good special attack and defense. HP and attack aren't too bad. It just can't take too much physically and it's not too fast. Being pure grass type, it's weak to flying, poison, bug, fire, and ice. The big problem with it is it just doesn't have that good of a moveset overall still. At least in its original incarnations. Nowadays, you can get like Solar Beam, I think Leaf Storm, Petal Blizzard, and some other moves on it here and there, depending on the generation you're playing. So Sunflora can be good nowadays. It's just a question of whether or not you want to go through the trials of raising a Sunkern until you can get a Sunstone to use on it. And something I haven't exactly mentioned about Stone evolutions is that in a lot of cases, they'll only learn maybe 2 or 3 moves after you've used the Stone on them. Usually 1 at evolution, and then maybe like 1 or 2 at the very high levels. Usually Stone evolutions will not gain any moves at all. The only real standouts for that is the Eevee line, because the Eevee itself isn't a specialized Pokemon yet. You have to wait until it evolves for it to actually have a point and for it to have a learn set it can potentially use. And there might be like 1 or 2 others as well from memory. With that though, now that we've cleared the trainers around this route more or less, we can now head west, and even though I'm not exploring this route yet, I'm only just showing off that it's here, we can now loop back around to Vermilion City. We are directly east of it right now. The big problem is you still can't get back to Vermilion this way. As I mentioned back then, there's a Snorlax blocking the pathway. So we're just gonna have to go clear on for Lavender Town for now. Thankfully, the route itself isn't that blocked off. From this side, you can explore all the grass, get all the items, catch all the Pokemon you want, really. You just can't reach Vermilion or Diglett Cave because of the Snorlax. This entire section of Kanto, though, like Lavender Town down to Fuchsia, really has just gotten more tedious to go through as I've gotten older. And I can't tell if that's just because I'm used to better, or it just doesn't feel as good anymore. I think the biggest thing is later games, particularly let's say Gen 4 beyond, honestly, got much better about pacing healing points either along long treks of routes like this, or pacing the amount of trainers in the routes to not exhaust you yet. Gen 5 overall probably was the one that fixed this a lot, just because there was maybe like 2 routes between every single town and healing point with maybe a dungeon between them on the side that you either had to do for plot or could ignore. Time for another new Pokemon though. This is Octillery. This evolves from Remoraid at level 25. Pure water type, so it is weak against grass and electric. Octillery's got some fantastic attack stats, even if it doesn't got a lot of defense to back it up comparatively, but it's got a good HP stat as well, I suppose. It's just not very fast. I've used Octillery before. It's a good enough water type. It has an okay learn set. You could do a lot worse, again. Although now I'm very sad because a few parts ago, I forget exactly when, I brought up that Gold and Silver Space World demo that leaked a few years back. Like it was the 97 one, I think. And you got to see like what Johto was shaping up to be before Kanto was thrown into the game. The sprite for Octillery in that, look it up. It's great. He was a literal tank, and it's... some of the beta designs are genuinely more interesting than the ones we ended up getting. Also, at this point, every single trainer on this route's optional because you can just surf around them. Is that cool? Yeah. Am I gonna do it? No, that's precious experience points, and I'm gonna need to be at least in my mid-70s by the end of the LP. I might even go a little beyond it, honestly. Welcome to Lavender Town, though. This place is nowhere near as sad as was in the original game, despite the fact that they completely changed its setup. We'll talk more about that in a few moments, though, because first we're going to head west of Lavender Town onto Route 8. This route has a couple of good Pokemon you can pick up. Over here in SoulSilver, you can catch more Vulpixes here, which means more Growlithe over on Heart Gold. You can catch Abras and Kadabras, I think Haunters as well. The biggest thing is you can actively catch a Gen 4 Pokemon using Headbutt here. You can catch Combee. Not a great Pokemon, especially because I think only female Combees evolve. But if you manage to find a female Combee, as rare as they are, it's like a 1 in 8 chance, I think. You can get a okay defender, bug-type wise, even if it's got a lot of weaknesses. Also, one of the biggest advancements Gen 4 made, by the way, that I've forgotten to highlight thus far, double battles will now walk to you. By and large, from memory, I think double battles would only activate in Gen 3 if you directly walked in front of them or talked to them from either of their sides. At least in a case like this where it's 2 trainers linked together at the hip. If they were 2 trainers on opposite sides of the road, that would still happen no matter what. Got 2 new Pokemon here, though. We got Lotad and Seedot. Lotad is a Gen 3 water grass type, meaning it is weak against flying, poison, and bug. It doesn't have a lot to start, but as it evolves, you genuinely get one of the best water types out of Gen 3, I feel. Because you get a really good special defense-oriented tank that has an ability that can restore its HP as it's raining, so Rainy Day is really good to have on this one. Additionally, it has some good special attack and otherwise attack stats to back it up. Whereas Seedot is a Gen 3 pure grass type, so it's weak against flying, poison, bug, fire, and ice. It's got an okay defense stat, that's all about it's got until it evolves into its final form by the use of a leaf stone down its evolution path, at which point it becomes a good enough physical attacker with some good special attack as well, and its speed's okay, but it's still pretty fragile because its typing gives it a lot of weaknesses, even if it does get 1 immunity as well. Now, the main reason I'm showing off some battles that's required in here is if you're coming here from the west, they are going to be no matter what unless you have Cut. Additionally, these ones are required for me to get into Saffron if I want to from this angle, so I might as well. Speed up theme for this part, by the way, I don't think I've mentioned that yet, is the theme of the Great Sea from Wind Waker. Because of the amount of water route this part, I figured, might as well. Good song, I love Wind Waker soundtrack. Thinking back, though, I think back to when Gen 8 was about to come out. Prior to, like, leaks and stuff, and ignoring leaks, because Pokemon leaks always historically happen so early, it's kind of ridiculous. I remember a lot of people being excited at the potential prospect of there being a second region to explore in that game. Because since Galar is based off Britain, people really thought maybe they're going to integrate that one train tunnel that goes underneath the channel and goes straight to France. And I remember a lot of people going like, man, we're gonna get to revisit Kalos, and man, that would have made Gen 8 a lot more interesting. Many people are hard at work here at the radio tower and must be doing their best to put on good shows. Welcome. Feel free to look around anywhere on this floor. You okay there, dude? Oh, no. We've been off the air ever since the power plant shut down. All my efforts to start the station would be wasted if I can't broadcast. I'd be ruined. Hey there, I'm the Super Music Director. Huh? Your Pokegear can't tune into my station? How unfortunate. If you upgrade with the expansion card you can turn in, you better get one. So, which rich asshole's idea was it to put a radio tower where the graveyard was? The graveyard is at least still here, in a much smaller form. But who wants to enact the wrath of several ghost-type Pokemon on their own, and then the ghosts of other Pokemon? That feels like a mistake. This is like the only town that shows a lot of active change since Gen 1 / Fire Red Leaf Green, and because of that, it's really weird. I guess it's partially to address some potential problems, supposedly, with all the creepypastas and rumors of kids having seizures. I don't think that was ever actively confirmed, but Also notably, there's a second name raider here in Lavender Town. I don't know why this game has two. It's probably because, again, they don't want you to have to just fly twice instead of the once. Not being able to fly to Johto and Kanto from the opposite region really is a weird thing to leave out overall. And I can see the logic for why, because of the train thing we'll see down the line. But it just feels really bare because of it. It would be like, in a way, and this is a little bit of a straw man I get, starting from flying in New Leaf Town, I think was the name of the starting town in Gen 4, and not being able to fly to the town that's all the way in the north where Candace's gym is that escapes my brain, unless you stop in Gardenia's city, and that's just weird. Also, there's Rock Polish. That is, I believe, a rock-type move that extraordinarily raises your physical defense. I had to jump cut there because I actively didn't have a Pokemon who had strength in my party. I am rotating out some Pokemon here and there for, like, Scott to have around for cut, and in some cases Flash. So I didn't have Kuro in my party at that point. At this point, strength has been taken off Dove because Kuro will use that a lot better overall. Dove is best using special attacks overall. And now time for the Nightmare. Welcome back to Rock Tunnel. Like our adventure back in Fire Red Leaf Green and in the original versions of Generation 1, this place is still a dark dungeon, so you need Flash to be able to see well at all. It's not as long as it used to be, but the encounter rate's definitely hellishly high. As for what you can find in here, it's mostly like Cubones, early Machop line, I think a Zubat here and there, Geodudes. The most interesting Pokemon you can find here are on the lowest floor, because there's like a 5% chance of finding Kangaskhan's. Not that I use Kangaskhan a lot, but it's a cool Pokemon to have around. Overall, though, the most interesting Pokemon you can catch here aren't until you can eventually cause Johto and Sinnoh Pokemon to spawn, in which case you can find Absols and Bronzors. And we'll be coming back here down the line, because as you can see right there, there's some mysterious tracks we still can't do anything with, because you don't get the 8th HM until you've more or less cleared all of Kanto. And that especially just doesn't feel good at all, because that means you have to memorize where those all were upwards of like 20 hours in advance. And I get maybe you're just going to be wandering around doing some grinding and catching Pokemon, and that's how they'll make you go, oh, I haven't climbed that yet. Still a little clunky. Rock Tunnel used to be my nightmare as a kid playing Fire Red and Leaf Green. Nowadays, I have the area memorized enough that I don't really bring Pokemons with Flash in it anymore. I just kind of run through, hugging the left wall as best I can and going from memory there, which has a mixed effect. We're already almost out of Rock Tunnel for now, though. They really shrank this place down in any version of Gen 2. Probably for the better overall, because Gen 1's dungeon designs are iconic now, but they are still very annoying to navigate, this one especially. And once we're out of here, we're going to be on a route we actually have some stuff to do in for once. Because Route 10 has some new stuff for us here in Gen 2. The last time I heard about the power plant, I heard somebody screaming, "Oh no, it must be a thief." I think it was the manager's voice. Well, we better go check out the power plant where you could catch Zapdos in the original game then. I should note though, Route 10 Pokemon-wise, interesting ones you can catch here are Voltorbs in the case you didn't catch one earlier in the game, or catch one of the Electrodes and then braid that with a Ditto for one maybe. Or overall, probably Electabuzz is the most interesting one you can catch here because Electabuzz is relatively hard to find otherwise from memory. But you can catch one around here. Let's see how they've cleaned this place up now that it's an active power plant this time instead of abandoned. I don't know why you abandon a power plant in the middle of an area like this, but I guess everyone has their reasons. Or maybe Zapdos invading it was actually what caused it to be closed down. I never thought about that. How are we doing in here? A thief broke into the power plant. What is the world coming to? I mean, that sounds pretty normal to me, honestly. This power plant had been abandoned in the past. We got back up and running to provide power to the magnet train. Oh, right, they actually addressed what I see here now. The magnet train consumes a lot of electricity. It can't move if the new generator isn't operating. Shit. The power plant's manager's up ahead, but since someone wrecked the generator, he's been both sad and at times furious. Sometimes he would burst out laughing out of desperation. We've had to go through so much. Mood. I'm ready to blast something. Who would dare steal apart from the generator? I spent so much time fixing it. If I catch him, he's gonna see what I can do with my charge beam. Okay then. And you can also trade a Dugtrio for a Magneton here. Not worth it at all, because Magnemites are pretty easy to find. Oh, hi, Balba. In a funny way, Balba best represents how the Pokegear was in the original generation too, by the way. Because whenever someone on the Pokegear called you in the original game, you were forced to pick it up and read out the entire conversation. Here in Heart Gold Soul Silver, you only need to listen to it if it's Balba or otherwise plot related. What's going on, officer? I just got word from Cerulean that it appears that a shady character's been loitering around. Can I ask for your cooperation? The shady character was hanging around the Cerulean gym. And thus, the active plotline of Kanto actually begins. Now, I'm just gonna cut back here just to save some time. Yeah, Kanto's only real plot besides get all the badges is to restore power to the power plant, and it's a pretty one-note plotline that you can honestly do pretty early on, too. Because if memory serves, you can head just straight to Cerulean from Vermilion, come over here, do all this, and then that's it until you beat all the badges. If anything, that's kind of why I've waited to go this route, as it gives me something to do in the middle of Kanto rather than just having to talk about Pokemon in specific and gym leader trick teams for however many parts. Also, you may have noticed something in that battle. Scott's gaining experience. I actively have the experience share on him, just because, might as well, I guess, turn him into a Weeping Bell and maybe a Victory Bell down the line. I don't really plan on using him, just might as well. I remember distinctly as a kid playing Fire Red and Leaf Green, and this route in particular usually being one of the last things I saw for a while because Rock Tunnel did genuinely wall me off from the later game a lot as a kid. Because dungeons in RPGs just stumped me a lot. And if it wasn't a puzzle, it was just them having a confusing layout, and it was me probably getting wiped by boss fights in some cases as I ignored random battles a lot in RPGs as a kid. In some cases because I felt like they took too long. In fact, I think the only RPG series I regularly enough did battles in as a kid that wasn't like just straight up Pokemon trainer battles was the Battle Network and Star Force games, because those battles are usually like, if you have a good chip and card setup, 15 seconds long-ish. Whereas sometimes Pokemon battles, upwards of 40 seconds and all that. Light Clay, I think, boosts the power of ground-type moves or something like that. Let me look that up, actually. I don't really remember. Oh, no, I'm very wrong. That extends the amount of turns that Light Screen Reflecting Aurora Veil lasts to 8 instead of 5. This is how you can tell I never use that item, because I don't use those moves much. Thankfully, though, this set of routes is almost over, and we are almost in Cerulean City. which as a kid I always loved just because there's something very calm about Cerulean compared to some other towns. It's probably just this light water aesthetic. And genuinely, as a kid, the Cerulean City episodes were some of my favorite in the anime. If only because in a lot of cases, they were the ones I often caught on like Cartoon Network for some reason. I feel like they played some Gen 1 episodes a lot more often than others. Mind you, in some cases, I think it's also that I want to say my local library had some Pokemon VHSs and DVDs I could rent as a kid back home. And like the first 4 episodes was one of them, and I think the Cerulean episodes were another set or something like that. I also distinctly remember accidentally renting Mighty Joe Young, or whatever the name of the movie with the giant ape that wasn't King Kong was, instead of George of the Jungle, because I thought they were the same movie for way too much of my childhood. I was very confused watching the monkey movie, thinking, well, where's Brendan Fraser? But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 27, we're going to explore around Cerulean City and hopefully find that shady figure that's loitering around the gym. See you guys then.